Hello fellow YouTubers. Today's Thursday, October 18, and it's been quite a warm day. It's very humid. Yeah. And it's now late afternoon, and I just can't stand it any longer, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can see the grass. It's very, very long, very, well, lush. Lush is the word, yes, look at it. That's what I was talking about in last night's video about it. How long would it take to creep across the footpath? And because I can't stand any longer, I decided to be optimistic and see if I can start the mower. And it hasn't been started for a while because I've been using the line trimmer to do the front and back lawns. But the time has come. The war has said. Here goes. Wow. Buggered. I just find it so hard to do the mowing. Nebulizer time, I think. Yeah. Well, I've been on the nebulizer, and I've made myself a mug of tea, and I haven't had a sip yet because it's probably too hot, but that's okay. And it just shows you what emphysema, how emphysema changes your life. You know, once upon a time, I could just do the line trimming and the mowing. I could walk in the park, back and front. But these days, I've got to do the mowing in burst. I say I can't do it anymore. Well, I can, but as I said, in burst. So they're very, very breathless pushing the mower. Line trimmer's okay. Said this before many times. It's a different action. You know, you pushing the mower, whereas you're just sweeping with the line trimmer. It's much easier. Well, it is for me anyhow. Oh, by the way, this here, for those who don't know, is where I mount my GoPro camera when I want some footage as I'm walking somewhere. Yes. I took the form to the hospital early afternoon. I think it was just after midday. And I parked right at the front entrance, and I walked in to the two flights of stairs. Steps, I guess I would say. And I walked up there nice and easy, and walked about the 30 metres to the reception desk. We put the form in, waited as she checked it. It was fine, and maybe 20 metres or so, and I was breathless. I was truly breathless. And when you become truly breathless, a little bit of panic arises in you. You think, oh, I can't breathe. But I just stopped, and I had my sunglasses and cap on. Well, I took them off because I tend to feel a little bit claustrophobic. I don't know if anyone else can understand that, but I feel claustrophobic, and taking the cap and the sunglasses off sort of just relieves that anxiety a little bit. I suppose it took me a couple of minutes to regain my breath. Then I walked down the steps and out to the front of the vehicle, where I had to stop again because I was still getting over the episode, and I was puffing and panting as I drove home. But I was okay once I got home. But it's insidious, this COPD, emphysema, and well, it's the way it is. What can I say? I suppose that I haven't done a reading for the last 2 uploads, so I think I will do a little bit of a reading, and then I'll have my cup of tea. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah, the lighting. I'm talking about the lighting. Yeah, okay. So what happened here? Oh yes, this is up. Jeremy had clamped the palms of his hands and cheeks and pushed vertically because he was such a pain with the toothache. Yeah, they looked like Munch's famous painting, The Scream. He could taste. Eat a clove now as the saliva began to flow, a promising sign, yes, this is a repeat, that maybe, just maybe, the cloves would quickly break down and salvation might be just around a not too distant corner. Then he smelled something burning. At first he thought it was wood smoke drifting in through the kitchen window. But a moment on he realised it was in the house and close by. Oh shit! It's the dryer! Jeremy had completely forgotten about the dryer. But then he could be forgiven for that. Although his wife wouldn't be so obliging if he set the thing on fire. Or worse still, raise the house to the ground. I thought, Jeremy, that's all he meant. How easy it would be to do exactly that, he thought as he turned the dryer off. Such a simple thing as forgetting to clean the lint filter and getting totally involved with something, anything, and poof, everything you've worked so hard for so long, gone. Still, no damage done. Thank Christ. Removing the clothes from the dryer and clutching them to his chest, he luxuriated from the heat of the clothes that were so close to his face, even though he was sweating profusely. By God, but it felt good. So good, in fact, that he stood his ground in the warmth of the laundry and buried his face in the clothes and waited until the heat completely dissipated. By the time the clothes cooled, which wasn't more than 4 or 5 minutes, Jeremy's mouth was so full of almost overflowing, was almost full. Holy shit. Jeremy's mouth was full to almost overflowing with the clove-enriched saliva, and he had to spit. But in a short space of time he had placed the clothes on the dining room table and was standing before the kitchen sink. A dark viscous dribble was running down the left side of his chin. And when he lowered his head and spat, the glutinous saliva shot forward and instantly recoiled like on a bungee cord. that each successive spit in quick series of spits failed to dislodge. Compounding the build-up of slime that clung to his lips and chin with the tenacity of a bull terrier. God damn it, he cursed, turning on the cold water tap and vigorously washing his lips and chin. Then watching as the black ooze slithered slowly towards the drain, until it disappeared like an exposed earthworm, retracting into a hole in the ground. His mouth was alive now, the constant goose bump-like tingle that, combined with the sharp, slightly bitter taste of, and the almost overpowering smell of the cloves, was something Jeremy had long since forgotten but now remembered as if he were a kid again. And like it had been all those years ago, it was something he didn't like. And he sure as hell didn't like it now. Funny how some things stay with you all your life, he thought. Haunting. I feel the same way about classrooms. I went and did a one-day course, explosive power tools, at the local TAFE college. This is a long time ago, many, many years ago. And as soon as I walked into that classroom, the smell assailed my nasal cavities. It was like the smell of classroom. I never liked it. It was a combination of a lot of things that had just offended me. Yeah, haunting. Yeah. But the clothes were working. Oh, thank the Lord, how they were working. The right side of his tongue was all but numb, and the gum surrounding the tooth and just beyond fore and aft, while not as receptive, was at least absorbing some of the anaesthetic effect of the cloves and calming the nerve appreciably, replacing the throbbing nerves on edge, physically weakening, cold sweat, unrelenting, agonising pain, with that of a dull ache. Persistent, yes, but tolerable. Oh, so tolerable. The only drawback was the constant need to spit. But for someone who had been prepared to sell his soul for relief, it was a small price to pay by comparison. And Jeremy spit again. It was now time to make an appointment with the dentist. I don't have any problem going to the dentist at all. There was a small magnetic back notebook clinging to the door of the refrigerator containing the phone numbers of professional and tradespeople they always used. But when Jeremy opened it, he noticed that he hadn't written the name of his dentist. But of course, he wouldn't. The number for the surgery was there, and the name of Doreen's dentist, but of course it would be. She was somewhat fanatic about her teeth and was a regular visitor. Jeremy, on the other hand, couldn't remember the last time he frequented the dentist. But why should he? He only went when push came to shove. Like now. He wasn't afraid of the dentist. Not now, anyway. There was a time when he was, though. During the late 60s and 70s, when even the thought of a visit to the dentist was a terrifying experience. The reception area alone was often dimly lit, dingy, and so foreboding that the very moment you stepped into its shadows, the pain you had became the pain you thought you had. And you didn't need to be there after all, and were tempted to about face and leave. A few probably did, but most would sit and wait with their pulses racing on faded vinyl-clad squares, mounted on a pitted and grey aluminium tubular frames that no one would give a second look if they happened to visit the local tip. The decor was just as tawdry, and the floor was always covered with a check pattern of large, dirty, well-scuffed light green and dull cream linoleum squares that eons ago may very well have been bright green and white. And because the floor underneath those tiles was the standard of the day timber tongue and groove on bearers on brick piers, the vibration of the drill would work its way from the surgery to the soldier shoes to the top of your head. And didn't that highlight your fears and fill you with dreaded expectation? But the worst was yet to come. The time when your name was called and you stepped into the surgery on watery legs and somehow managed to sit in the chair. It was like, except for electricity, stepping back in time, where the visiting dentist would set up a temporary shop in a room at the rear of a pub or hardware store. Or maybe the town doctor also dabbled in dentistry 101. There would be a solitary overhead flickering fluorescent tube, shredding a feeble yellowishly white light over a dirty grey but very solid metal framed chair, playing host to a dark brown vinyl cushioned seat, head and armrest. The remainder of the room was always in semi-darkness, making it impossible to see what you didn't particularly want to see anyway. And what you could, you wished you hadn't, because you didn't dare to think what the hell it had to do with dentistry and what it could be used for. And if by chance it was used, you hoped it wouldn't be used on you. Oh, I kill myself sometimes. And like the Bunsen burners. Why was there always at least one Bunsen burner burning? Didn't they have sterilising units in those days? And why were all the instruments so large and cumbersome? The needle was about the size of a corking gun. And the pliers looked like they had just been lifted from a mechanic's toolbox. Just as well the dentist was always a man, for a woman wouldn't have been physically capable of using the damn things. The nurse was always a woman, though. She was usually also the receptionist. Not like that these days. Everything is so specialised these days. That's why everything is so expensive. Jeremy dialed the number, then hung up. He had to spit. Dialed again, and was surprised when he heard, "Good afternoon," after only 2 rings. "Dental surgery? Lisa speaking." "Good afternoon, Lisa. Jeremy Wilson. I need to see a dentist rather urgently, please." "Oh, Mr. Wilson," she replied, seemingly sympathetic. "I'm sorry to hear that. Are you in pain?" Yes. He wasn't experiencing a lot of pain, but he knew if he said he wasn't, she'd make an appointment sometime in the distant future. "What sort of pain is it?" The tone was friendly but also matter-of-fact. What do you mean, what sort of pain is it?" Jeremy replied. But he was thinking, what sort of stupid question is that, for Christ's sake? And his tone wasn't friendly. Pain. The sort of pain you have when you break a tooth and the nerve is revolting and you feel like you want to kill yourself. She chuckled, paused momentarily, then said in a dulcet tone, "Oh, yes, right. I'm sorry. Have you been here before, Mr. Wilson?" "Yes." "Recently?" "No." "Do you remember who attended you?" It was a lady. Name tarted in, I think, Dr. New, who after accused me at my Jeremy blubbered, then went to the sink and spit. Sorry about that. I had something rather urgent to attend to. Are you all right, Mr. Wilson? Lisa asked, obviously concerned. You said something I couldn't understand, then you were gone. Jeremy explained. She laughed, paused and asked, was it Dr. Newman? Dr. Oh yes. I see. Was Dr. Newman my dentist? Maybe. There was a brief pause as Jeremy heard the clatter of a keyboard followed by a solitary clunk. And then a sigh, then, I can only fit you in at 5:30 this afternoon, Mr. Wilson. Sorry about that, but it's the best I can do. Thank you, Lisa. 5:30 it is. And goodbye, Mr. Wilson. Goodbye, Lisa. Jeremy hung up the phone and looked at the clock. It was 5 minutes past 1 on this unfortunate afternoon of just another day. And Jeremy spit. Again. Right, he said, clapping his hands. Time to clean the carpet. Then I'll slide the washing machine and dryer in place, fold my clothes and put away, wash up, and where's the fucking cordless phone? But almost immediately he remembered. The shed. And that will do it. I really killed myself. I really did. It made myself laugh. At my own writing. That's good, I suppose, isn't it? Anyhow, I want to thank you for watching and listening. Or hearing. Yeah, that's it. And until next time, bye for now. Oh, hope my tea's still hot.